Hi guys. A topic that has come up for me many times in World of Warcraft has recently resurfaced on my server and in general in my guild chat, and it's something that people tend to have very different and often very strong opinions about. And so I wanted to kind of get a feel for your guys' opinions as part of another just general WoW commentary video, though this one is going to have some gold making relation similar to how the professional one technically was kind of about gold making, even though it wasn't how to make gold. And so what I wanted to talk about today was actually selling or buying carries. This, of course, is when you pay someone, usually in gold, to bring you through a raid and give you the drops that happen, to carry you through challenge modes or Mythic Plus or whatever you happen to be doing. Basically, you pay skilled players, possibly very, very geared players, to do the work, quote-unquote work, for you in a PvE or PvP setting in order to get the reward, and theoretically not have to put in nearly as much effort as people who earned them, quote-unquote, legitimately. So my server is not a very hardcore, progression server at all. We only have, one or two, really progressed guilds, so to speak. I mean, we got a lot of 7-7 heroic, very few are far into mythic at this point. But one of the more progressed guilds on the server was selling Emerald Nightmare carries so that you could get ahead of the curve Xavius. And I whispered them just out of curiosity on the price, and it was a very affordable. It was like 150, 200,000 gold, something like that. Which, when I think of a full raid carry, I think of significantly more money than that, especially in the days of hyperinflation that we've seen now. And so I thought that was a really great price. I wasn't sure I was going to buy it, and I still haven't, and I probably won't. But all the same, I was enticed by that's like seeing something on the clearance rack. That's a pretty good deal. And so I mentioned this in my guild chat, and one thing that I've heard a lot of different opinions about buying carries, but first let's talk about selling them, because I was kind of surprised to find that a few of my guild members said that they did not like the idea of people selling carries, which kind of struck me as very odd, because you're really just providing a service to people who want it. A lot of the complaints against buying carries kind of comes down to you didn't earn it, you didn't put in the work, so you shouldn't get the reward. And I can kind of see the merits to those or arguments. But the idea of not selling carries, I basically asked them, what's the problem with selling a carry? And they didn't really give me an answer, which is fair enough. I mean, you can just say that it rubs you the wrong way, and that's a relevant reason to not like something. It's not like we're the ones who are selling carries, so that's their business. But basically, they implied that they thought that the people who were selling the carries were kind of on the wrong side of things. And so first, let's talk about why guilds or 5-mans would sell carries. I mean, obviously to get gold, but consider this. This particular expansion had very expensive flasks and food and consumables and stuff like that. So we'll say that you're about to start mythics with your guild. So I think that's 20 people in a raid, right? Those people all need flasks. Those people all need food. Technically, they should be getting that themselves. But when it comes to progression raiding, you want your raiders to not have spent hours before or after raid farming consumables, that sort of a thing. We left that behind in Burning Crusade for the most part. And so one way to do that is to have the guild fund it. Well, how can the guild fund it? Hey, if it just takes an hour or two in the week to clear out heroic Emerald Nightmare, and you could carry, with the personal loot system, several people to get this achievement and charge each one of them 150, 200,000 gold, you can make 400,000, 600,000 gold a week just to pay for your raid consumables. And so this is a way to actually benefit your raid by carrying people and selling carries. So it's a way really, when you think about it, raiders, they have a skill. They have a very good skill. They have experience. And this is a way for them to actually capitalize on that in-game so that they don't have to pay for their own consumables and such like that. It's just like, I have a max level scribe, I've gone and farmed all of these, glyphs and stuff. Technically, anyone could go and make those glyphs, but not everyone wants to go farm the technique, not everyone wants to level the scribe. So I provide that service by selling them that glyph. It's really the same thing for raiders. Not everyone wants to learn those fights. Not everyone wants to be in there every week, getting gear so that they can carry stuff. So once they've got it, they're providing a service to the other people who want to pay them for that service. And I don't see it as any different. So For selling carries, I'd be really interested to hear if people think selling carries is wrong, because I haven't heard an argument that I consider particularly strong against selling carries. Now, buying carries is definitely the area where people definitely have some strong opinions that I can understand. Now, for starters, I have bought one carry in my time through WoW. While I have been enticed by many of them, the fact is I was a main tank for a fairly progressed raid guild for a long time, from TOC till middle of Mists of Pandaria. We did all the achievements, we farmed mounts, we did all sorts of stuff. So I didn't have to buy carries because I knew that I might not be the first on the server, but I would get that eventually, whatever it was. So, but then in Mists of Pandaria, the 5-man challenge modes came out. Now, we got, let's see here, I forget which one we did, quote-unquote, legitimately. Siege of Nizhao Temple, that was a 5-man, right? I think that's what we did. So, we did all the work, we got our polls down, we got gold on that, and it went really well, but it was a lot of work. It was doable, for sure. I mean, we had the skill, we had the players, but it just was a lot of work. And when I'm sitting here as a very accomplished gold maker, and I think, well, the amount of time and effort I put into that, I could make millions of gold, just millions, because of how much time I had to put in to learn those polls, figure out the perfect strategies to do it, make sure that we had the right classes, that sort of thing. So, with the amount of time that I spent getting that, I could have made millions of gold. So if someone was going to sell me a full carry for all the rest of the challenge modes that I wanted for 600,000 gold, then, I mean, as the Goblin NPCs tell us, time is money, and is it not the smarter choice to then buy a carry and save all that time, and then I can use that to do other things? Now, obviously, there is some very strong arguments to be made for having done it yourself, having earned it, so to speak. Because if you're just getting carried, are you as proud of it? Does that reflect you as a player as much as it wants to? I mean, I have full challenge mode armor. I love my challenge mode armor. But did I really overcome the challenges to earn it? Personally, I'd say yes. I mean, I had the skill that was necessary. I got my gold legitimately with a group that I built. But then I just decided, there's a more efficient way for me to get this by buying it. And I went with the more efficient way, and I think that's a smart choice. However, I fully understand the people who say it doesn't count. I don't, no one's ever said that to my face, but I know that some people have, some people in guild chat, let's just say there weren't a lot of grats going around, which is fair enough. I didn't expect any, considering it was, I did my best, but I still, compared to the amount of work I had to do when I was tanking them, still essentially sat around. And so, but I was also kind of phasing out of the game at that point in time. I was, burning out. I was kind of deciding to quit WoW. So I don't think it came as much of a surprise to people when I bought that, because when you're kind of on the downward slope towards quitting, it's not like people expected you to push really hard in content, I don't think. But, so that was the last and only carry I bought. So now I've come back to WoW, and I'm no longer in this progression raiding group. I go to raid on our alt nights, and we clear normal Emerald Nightmare every week, but that's about it. And that's fine, because I can't really commit to the amount of time that it takes to be a progression raider right now. And I can't really commit to doing Mythic plus 10 through 15, that sort of a thing. And so when I've been seeing these groups selling things, so like I said, a group on my server was selling this Emerald Nightmare carry for what I thought was a very good price. And so this started the discussion in guild chat about carries, and there was some back and forth regarding whether or not it's whether or not it's kosher to buy a carry. And no one said, if you buy a carry, you're kicked out of the guild. That's not going to happen or anything of the sort. But it certainly, there were strong opinions on either side. And then today, so Karazhan's been out. I'm as evidence of the fact that I don't suck, I swear. we went 7 of 8 in Kara the first night, then we didn't even pull Viz because everyone was tired, so we left, and then I came up with a strat for Viz for us overnight, and then the next day we two-shot him, I think, after we'd seen the mechanics on that first wipe. And so we cleared Kara with relative ease, considering no one had read up on any of the fights beforehand. A few of us were left over, were BC raiders and knew the mechanics of the old bosses, though of course there was some unlearning to do in that regard, since a lot of stuff has changed. But, it's a fairly challenging instance, and so I was kind of surprised then that, we cleared in 2 nights. One night was just, the 15 minutes to go in and kill Viz, and yet we're still the only people in our guild who've done it, even though at least 2 or 3 other groups have gotten pretty far in Kara, but they're just running into problems on Morose, or they're running into problems on Shade. We had quite a few problems with Flame Wreath because of our very mobile demon hunters we took for our DPS, but all the same, people are, kind of running into walls on Kara while we didn't. And so, I've kind of been possibly looking at Nightbane runs, and while I was looking at that, I noticed that same guild that's selling the Emerald Nightmare carries also said they were selling Nightbane. So Nightbane is a speed run, kind of similar to ZA in Karazhan, for those of you who don't know, and the price on this was 600,000 gold, which, to me, it's more than I think it is worth, considering everyone's going to want to do it eventually to upgrade their ring, because that's a quest later on. But so it's more than I think it's worth, but I don't think it's an unfair price. It's just not worth it to me. But I could pay it if I really wanted, and it's a damn nice looking mount. And yet I found myself thinking, but wouldn't I rather earn it myself? And so I definitely still have this kind of remaining feeling of, if you buy it, you didn't earn it. Even though I think it's a smart choice, as far as efficiency, if I don't want to spend that time learning the polls, figuring out what I can skip and what I can't skip, isn't it a smart idea to just buy the carry? And yet somehow in the back of my mind I still have this lingering feeling of, but then it doesn't count. And so I'm interested to hear basically what everyone else's opinions are on carries. So if you have any opinions, one way or the other, if you've bought a carry, if you would never buy a carry, mention in the comments, because I'm curious as far as how other people feel about this, especially because obviously I hear mostly a raider's perspective talking in guild chat. Well, I'm very interested, because I always kind of wondered if some of these people's opinions weren't at least a little bit influenced by price tag and the fact that it might be tough for them to afford that. And so there might be, I don't want to call it jealousy, because I don't think that's true, because even if they had the gold, these people don't strike me as someone who would buy a carry. But it still kind of made me wonder if, there's at least a little bit of saltiness coming from the fact that 600k, I could throw that away, because, hey, why not get this mount a few weeks earlier? While for other people, that might be a hardship. And so I'm curious to hear from Goldmaker's perspective, or just rich players' perspective, if you how you feel about the idea of buying carries or selling carries, now that I found out that some people disagree with that, which is their opinion, and that's totally fair. I just don't understand it is all. As you can tell, I'm definitely of 2 minds on buying carries, and I could easily be of 2 minds on selling carries. I just need to hear a good argument for the other side right now. So I hope you guys will give me that good argument in the comments. I really hope you guys are enjoying Karazhan. I noticed when I wanted to get a Viz strat going, I could not find a single guide video on YouTube. I've been trying to get in and record footage and actually make a guide video to fill that gap that's not yet filled. But of course, Blizzard's having this zoning in instance problem. So if that gets fixed and there's not already a guide video up, which I bet there will be, but if there isn't already one, I will probably be making just a Viz guide for Karazhan if anyone needs one. So hopefully I can zone into a damn instance and give it a go. Until then, I hope you guys are enjoying Karazhan. I hope you guys are making lots of gold, and I hope you enjoy Nighthold that's coming soon. Have a great day, guys.